Hey guys, welcome back to another session here with TD Fitness. I am your host, Coach T, and in this session, we are going over 12 healthy habits that I practice each day and that you can absolutely start to implement in your lives if you so choose. And it's important that you know that I'm not trying to come at you with this topic in the sense of, hey, look at what I do. You should do it too. If you followed me for any length of time, you know that I try to be very open with the struggles that I go through and that are so common to so many of us. In fact, with each one of these habits that I'm going to present to you, I'll provide the challenges I face and some possible ways to overcome them. So this topic is actually an extension of a blog post that I did almost 2 years ago. It was called My Daily Routine. I'll link to that one in the show notes. But I got a lot of good feedback on that one, probably because it was an opportunity for me to show some of the things that I preach, show them being put into action and how I incorporate them. So my intent here is to answer the question, what are some simple things that I can do in my daily life to create some positive movement, some momentum in living healthier, feeling better, reducing stress, and being more productive? So I'm going to throw these 12 habits at you, these 12 habit ideas at you, but I don't want you to worry. You don't have to write them down because I sum them up very neatly in the freebie for this episode. It's a cheat sheet with 12 simple, healthy habit ideas that you can start right now. So those are essentially the same 12 habits that I'm going to go through here in this episode. And you can grab that at tdfitness.net/010 download. So my plan here is to go through each of these habits and briefly discuss a few things with each one, how I accomplish the habit, why I try to do that particular habit, the challenges I have with them and how to overcome some of those challenges, and my successes or failures for that matter too with each one of those. So jumping right into things, the first habit, in all honesty, is not really a daily habit at all, but it's a weekly habit. And it's an important part of the process. So here's what I do. At the beginning of each week, I try to plan my small goals for that week. And depending on what type of week I'm anticipating, I will plan exercise and sometimes even change my eating habits or my goals for nutrition for that week. I'll change them accordingly. So I look at things like, what's the weather going to be like? I mean, if I can exercise outside, either a run or a walk or a bike ride or some family outdoor time, then I will absolutely try to take advantage of that. Fresh air does the body good. I also look at things like my work schedule and my leisure schedule. Am I going to be traveling this week? How busy am I going to be? If I am traveling, will I be able to exercise? I'm not much of a, fly to a big city and start running around the city in the middle of the day kind of guy. So it's important for me to kind of look ahead and see where I am, how much time I'm going to have, and what type of outlets I'll have access to. Does the hotel have a fitness facility or maybe an agreement with a local gym? Some hotels do that. I mentioned that I look at how busy I was going to be, and all of these things kind of go into help forming my picture. They help to form my picture of what my week is going to be like. And from there, I can then set some goals. So is it going to be a really stressful week? Very busy week that maybe I'll just take a week of downtime from working out, make it a recovery week or something like that? Do I need to set modest nutrition goals based on either limited availability of healthier options or maybe we're visiting friends and they don't necessarily have the same eating habits that we do? So I understand that, our eating habits are going to be a little bit different, a little less healthy maybe than what we typically practice. Look at whether it's a low stress week versus a high stress week. So low stress weeks where I can actually devote some time, effort, energy into some really good workouts. Now, all of these things, again, go into helping to determine what kind of week I'm going to have, or really trying to decide what my goals for that week are. After that step, I plan and write down the goals. And what I use is a tool called Evernote. It's really one-stop shopping where I can put all of my thoughts, all of my to-do items, all kinds of just notes into this online platform and access it from anywhere, from my phone, from my computer. But that is one way that I keep track of the workouts and even some nutrition goals that I try to accomplish from week to week. Am I always successful with meeting those goals? No, absolutely not. I mean, things come up, life happens, right? But I will tell you that one of my previous bosses once told me that it's easier to have something to deviate from than it is to try to come up with something from scratch. So plan your week, try to stick to it, and then deviate only if you need to. That's how I try to accomplish that one. So what kind of challenges do I face with that? Well, typically, I'm pretty good during my training period for a race, which is approximately 6 months out of the year, because I know that each workout has a purpose toward the end goal of completing that long race. In fact, I'm competing at the time of this recording. I'm competing in a race this weekend in North Carolina, half Ironman, 70.3 distance. So when I don't have something on the calendar like that, though, it's harder for me to stay consistent with my workouts. I'll just be honest. And that's one of the reasons why I will put an event like that on the calendar, because it keeps me motivated. It keeps me honest. I wrote about that in a past post as well. It was called Need Motivation, Try an Event. And I'll link to that in the show notes as well. So that's one way that I try to overcome the habit or the tendency to kind of flounder with your workouts or not have any direction. I'll put a date on the calendar for a big event, and then I know that leading up to that, I've got to prepare for it. If there's nothing planned on the calendar, I try to at least have a workout plan or a regimen that I stick to, some type of plan. And I will typically use the plan that I created, the TD Fit plan that I created for individuals with busy lifestyles, because that's most of us these days, right? And that's also the plan that I've included as a bonus in the Fit Life program, and you'll hear more about that in the next month or so. But that plan gives me workouts for an entire year if I need them. So having a plan to stick to is absolutely critical. It's crucial. I feel like I've been successful with planning my weeks because I use those plans and try to incorporate them into my routine. Now, habit number 2 is also really important. And this one's important because it's important to understand that a healthy, productive day really starts the night before. So habit number 2 is getting a good night's sleep. So I plan for a productive next day by going to bed at a decent hour, by thinking about the number of hours that I'm going to sleep beforehand, and considering my sleep cycles. I posted 2 different articles on this one. One is called It's All About Sleep, and the other is called Stay Healthy and Fit by Sleeping Like a Baby. I'll link to those in the show notes as well. But some of the things that I address in those posts is not only the amount of sleep you get, but also the quality of sleep and the sleep cycle method that I and many other people use. And it talks about this cycle of 90-minute increments. And that's not to say that every 90 minutes you're going to wake up. That's not what I mean. What I mean is that your sleep cycle is just that. It's cyclic, right? It's a continuum. And you go from periods of light sleep to periods of deeper sleep. And what you want to do, if you can, is try to wake up when you're not in a deep sleep, because when you do that, you're more groggy, you're less alert, and it's just harder to get up. I'm sure we've all felt that way at one point or another when you wake up or the alarm goes off and you're just like, oh man, I really don't feel like getting up right now. So how do I do that? Well, I do a little bit of planning and some calculation the night prior. And I do this every night. I know what time I need to get up in the morning. So I back my goal for bedtime, back it up based on what I have to do that evening and how much sleep I need to get the next day. For example, if I'm going to get up at 4:30 in the morning, and I know that's early. Yeah, I typically get up at 4:30. I'm not saying you have to, but pick whatever time you want. But for a 4:30 wake up for me, that means 6 hours of sleep is a 10:30 bedtime. Okay, 7.5 hours of sleep is a 9 p.m. bedtime the night prior. Now that's kind of early, but I can sometimes make that happen if we don't have too much to knock out after the kids go to bed. The benefit here is that you wake up refreshed. You're not groggy, and that is why I do it. The challenge I have, though, is that there's often for me, there's a lot to do in the evenings, whether it's work with TD Fitness, whether it's prepping the kids' lunches and getting their things ready for school the next day, spending quality time with my wife, something that's very important to me, you name it. So I try to overcome that by aiming for 7.5 hours, at least a few nights during the week, and then intentionally staying up a little later. I'll be honest, 10:30 or later if I have to do some of those things that take more time on other nights of the week. Honestly, so sometimes I'm not completely successful with that at all. I'll look up and see that it's after 11 p.m. and then, maybe I'll just try to get 4.5 hours of sleep to remain on those 90-minute cycles. But sometimes that's just what you have to do. I will tell you this, though. I know that I feel better and more refreshed and less cranky when I'm able to get several good nights of sleep throughout the week. I mean, that's a no-brainer. So my workout performance is actually better, too. So when I try to intentionally put some thought and planning into my sleep practices, I find that things just go so much easier the next day and really throughout the week. Now, another daily habit that I do without fail every single day is drink a bottle of water as soon as I get up. And I also take a multivitamin. I've written about multivitamins and dietary supplements. I'll link to that in the show notes as well. But the most important part of that routine, though, is the water, because it starts the rehydration process, and the benefits of water just cannot be overstated. So how do I accomplish this one? Well, I will, from time to time, I'll just buy a large case of, 24 or 48 waters, and I keep that in the bedroom. In fact, I keep it right by my nightstand. The night prior, I will either put a bottle of water on my nightstand or by the sink in the bathroom. Or when I wake up, if I haven't done that the night prior, then I'll just grab one out of the case. And I'm just talking about the regular size water bottles, the 16.9 ounces. And I drink that with my multivitamin. If you can't drink an entire bottle of water in one sitting, that's fine. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter. But if you start to rehydrate as soon as you get up, you'll find that you're going to feel a whole lot better. And just try to finish that water by breakfast or something like that. So this is a habit I don't have any trouble with. I don't mind the taste of regular water. I can drink a bottle in a few seconds, and it's an easy one for me to accomplish. It's easy, though, because I've done it now for years, and it's just a part of my routine. Because once you get in the habit of doing that or any other healthy habit, you'll find that it's easier for you to do. You can even start with the mini bottles of water, the small, I think they're 8-ounce bottles of water. If you don't want to buy water, then you can fill up your own bottle. But I just find that removing the barrier of having to fill a bottle of water the night prior makes me more likely to drink it in the morning. I just grab a water that's ready to go. And the cases are pretty cheap, right? The case is right there. I just grab it and I'm good to go. So that's what I do. Drink a bottle of water first thing in the morning every single day. Another thing I try to do, habit number 4 on most days, is exercise and stay hydrated while you're doing that. This is the TD Fitness podcast, right? The TD Fitness session. So when have I not talked about the benefits of exercise? I'm not going to belabor all of the benefits, but I will offer a couple of thoughts when it comes to this. I generally work out in the morning because that's what works for me. Once the day starts, I know that I can't control work and family obligations, so I try to get exercise in at a time where I do have some control. And that's usually before anyone else in my house wakes up. That said, early morning wake-ups and early morning workouts do not work for everything, and I absolutely understand that and realize that. But the point is that you should plan for it before it's actually time to do it. So some things that I intentionally put in my corner, in my favor, if you will, to help me work out when I get up in the mornings. The first is having a way to work out at home. And if you go back to the TD Fit workout plan that I mentioned earlier, that is largely based on home workout. So that is something that I don't necessarily need to go to the gym for. I can just perform those workouts at the house. But I will tell you, we also have a small gym at home. It's nothing fancy, just exercise equipment really that I've accumulated over the years. But it definitely serves the purpose for some of those things that if we want to get some cardio in, for example, and it's very cold outside, we don't have a treadmill, but we do have a row machine. So things like that, you know, you can incorporate into your home gym so that you can exercise somewhat. It doesn't take as much effort to get up and go to the gym. You can do some of those things at your house. We also do belong to a gym, and I will tell you that when we move to a new place, we look at choosing a gym much like choosing a house. We do gym hunting as well as house hunting, if you will. So we chose a gym that was very close to our house, and we did that on purpose because, I mean, this gym is less than a mile away. I could definitely walk to it. But we did that because, again, it's just less time in the morning. The mornings are already tight, packed with so many things that you have to do. But I can go to the gym, come back. My wife can go to the gym and come back all before the kids get up. So choosing the right location to work out, whether it's your home, whether it's a gym, whether it's at the office, if you have means to work out there. Again, being intentional with that. Another thing I have in my favor, though, is being motivated by a partner. So although my wife and I don't get to work out together as much these days with kids now, we still motivate each other. So it's good to have a partner or some kind of accountability partner that will motivate you and keep pushing you, and you do the same for them. Now, I mentioned my challenges before, but to restate them, you know, when it comes to exercising throughout the week, when I don't have a race on the calendar, it's definitely more difficult to stay consistent. Another challenge, during periods of stress, it's hard to stay consistent. This is a scientific fact. When your body is dealing with stress in any form, one form or another, whether it's work-related, family-related, you name it, you just don't have a lot of bandwidth to incorporate other things into your life. And sometimes the first things to go are those healthier habits that you've started to implement. So you may not feel the desire or have the time to go work out. You may not be able to eat as well as you have been during very stressful periods. So it's important to recognize and realize those times when you're stressed. Another challenge, actually, let me back up. One way that I overcome the stress is, and overcome the fact that I'm not able to work out necessarily every day, is that I don't try to be perfect by working out every day. I just aim to work out on most days of the week if I can. And a healthy lifestyle, it's important to understand and point out here that a healthy lifestyle isn't something that's developed. It's not something that just happens overnight. A healthy lifestyle is something that is developed over time and incrementally. So again, just try to exercise more days than you're not. Try to improve on where you are right now, and that is the best way to make some forward progress when it comes to lifestyle change. Generally speaking, with this habit, the exercise throughout the week, I am fairly successful with that. But again, I just wanted to point out some of the challenges that I typically have to overcome. Now, related to the exercise habit, I also, on most days of the week, also try to do some stretching and or mobility work. I've written and talked about this many times before. One post I did was called "The One Thing You Should Know About Your Muscles." Another was called "3 Ways to Take Care of Your Muscles." And then if you remember the TD Fitness podcast episode number 7, "A Simple Fix to Rid Yourself of Joint Pain," all of those things talk about the need for stretching, the need for flexibility, and the need for mobility. Surprisingly, though, despite how important I know this is one that I struggle with. And I will, I try different techniques to make sure that I'm staying consistent with it, but it's very hard to stay consistent with this one for me. I'll typically try to leave a few minutes after my workout to stretch because that's when the muscles are warm and they're most limber then. There's less chance of injury and you get a good stretch after that workout. Also, after taking a shower, because your muscles are fairly warm then. If you didn't work out that day, then you can try to stretch after your shower. But it's just so hard for me to make time for stretching. It just is. But it's so important for everyday movement and injury prevention. I mean, I wish I was better at this one, but it's one that I'm going to continue to work on. I am fairly consistent with it at certain times of the year. Recently, for example, I've been very good with stretching because I know that if I'm not, then I'll pay for it in my upcoming race. I tend to get cramps if I'm not limber, not flexible leading up to race day. So it's something that I try to be intentional with. I just need to be more deliberate about making it a priority throughout the year. But again, having an event on the calendar is a good thing for me because that's something that makes me want to stick to the stretching regimen. Habit number 6, eat something for breakfast. Now, remembering that breakfast literally means break the fast, breakfast, because food equates to energy, right? That's what a calorie is. A calorie is a measurement of energy. But you're breaking the fast in the morning. The common belief, though, or maybe the common misunderstanding, is that you have to sit down to, a full breakfast, and that's not what I'm talking about here. You don't have to consume a large breakfast in the morning. For me, it's just maybe a bowl of cereal, maybe a piece of fruit. But I actually find that I'm not as hungry as I used to be in the mornings. And you know why? I really think it's because I drink that bottle of water first thing as soon as I wake up. If you think about that, you can start to see how the additive effects of these healthy habits, when they're compiled, when they're put on top of one another, they have a synergistic effect, where the sum of the combined habits is greater than the effects of each one of the individual habits. And that's what lifestyle change and healthy living is all about. You'll find that these healthy habits start to compound on one another, and you'll get more and more rewards, more benefit from just small changes in your life. I usually don't have a problem with eating breakfast in the morning. I don't find that too challenging, but if you do, just try to find something that's palatable, something that's light, relatively easy to consume, and doesn't take a lot of time to make or prepare. I start every day with a goal of trying to consume 5 servings of fruits and vegetables throughout the day. And this is usually a good way to start at breakfast, because if I have a piece of fruit, then hey, I'm 20% of the way there in trying to consume, just trying to consume 4 more servings of fruits and or vegetables throughout the day. So next, habit number 7, try to incorporate movement throughout your day. Podcast number 6, Be Fit While You Sit, tips for staying healthy while working a desk job. I talked all about this one, and it mentions standing up periodically to stretch, or standing up and moving around periodically throughout the day. If you're one of the people like me who has a pretty sedentary desk job, so you're sitting behind a computer for most of the day or sitting at a desk for most of the day, that podcast, episode number 6, there are several, I present in that one several different ways that to prevent sitting from becoming deadly. And it is that serious. I mean, there have been recent studies that have shown that because we are so sedentary, largely due to the fact that many of us don't have to move around a lot at work, that is absolutely taking a toll on our health. So go back and check out episode number 6. I'm going to put a link to that one in the show notes as well. But this is a serious issue. There are some very serious health implications with prolonged sitting on a continual basis. So check out that episode for more info. But this is another one that I need to be better at practicing what I preach. I get caught up at work. I mean, you're making headway, you're making progress, you're feeling very productive from a work standpoint. And sometimes you just forget that you need to get up and stretch, move around a little bit. I travel sometimes for work too. Sometimes I'm in conferences for most of the day, but I will still try to do my best to get up and stretch or walk around. And I'll tell you again, what usually helps with that, or it helps facilitate that movement, is having to get up and go to the bathroom. So it goes back to staying hydrated. It goes back to the bottle of water first thing in the morning. And it also leads me to my next point, which is staying hydrated with a bottle of water throughout the day. Okay. We've talked about the benefits of water and hydration, from better body function to digestion, to metabolic function, to muscular function. I mean, you name it. Water helps in so many ways. In fact, I'm going to take another sip right now. But how do you do it? Okay, so here's my technique. I have a 33-ounce bottle of water, and I try to finish one before lunch. I try to finish another one before quitting time, and then another one before I go to bed. That adds up to about 100 ounces, and I know that that's what works for me with my training level and my hydration requirements. So when I exercise, obviously I need more, but I keep this bottle on my desk at work and shoot for my incremental goals of a bottle by lunch, a bottle by 4 or 5 p.m., and another before I go to bed. Constant sips throughout the day are easier for me, and they serve to keep you better hydrated. Challenges for me include just forgetting to drink it, but that usually doesn't happen unless I'm up and away from my desk a lot, or on weekends when my schedule is much more fluid. So to counter that, I just try to keep the bottle with me all the time if I can. And that just reminds me to drink it. Habit number 9, have a healthy mid-morning snack. For me, this is almost always oatmeal made with honey, peanut butter, a little bit of brown sugar, and if I'm being honest, some real butter too, because I mean, let's be honest, sugar and butter just make things taste better. I don't go overboard with the sugar and butter. So generally speaking, though, it's a pretty healthy meal, and it will hold me until lunch. So I try to have that mid-morning snack because it reduces the chance of me overeating at lunch. If I have fruits or veggies that I brought in for lunch, I'll try to finish my fruit and vegetable portions and all the healthy stuff, if you will, around, but by the time midday comes around. That way I'm less hungry at lunch because I know that fiber makes you full, makes you feel full, and then I can enjoy whatever I want for lunch within reason, without having to think about meeting my self-imposed requirement of 4 to 5 or 5 servings of fruits and vegetables each day. So how do I accomplish this one? In the morning, I usually make breakfast for the family, and typically it's a pot of oatmeal, and we all like it. Sometimes the kids are a little picky, but I take part of that oatmeal to work with me in one of those small thermos bowls that, the ones that keep food and beverages hot. The challenge to me is that it can sometimes be hard to find a snack that you can take to work. So this is just one that I've found that works for me. Some ways around it are to make something as part of your everyday routine, like I do with the oatmeal. If I'm making it every morning anyway, then it's very easy for me to just set a little bit aside and put it in that small container and take it to work. Or you can buy something healthy every day. Although this can be a little more expensive, but there happens to be a cafeteria where I work, so I could go there and get something mid-morning. But the point is to not wait until the last minute. Don't wait until you're hungry, i.e. lunchtime, where you haven't eaten for possibly 4 hours or more, because then you're more likely to make some bad decisions. Speaking of lunch, habit number 10, I try to get away from my desk for lunch. And this goes back to what I just mentioned a few minutes ago, which is the negative effects for sitting for too long. So I just need to get away for sanity purposes, to be honest. I mean, I love my job, but I can't sit in front of a computer all day. Even if I don't think that I need to get up, I know I need to. Okay. So how do I do it? Well, plan your lunch. I literally start thinking about lunch when I get to work. I think about what time I'm going to go. I try not to wait until I'm starving to go to lunch. And then sometimes I'll bring my lunch as well. But thinking about these things beforehand will make it that much easier. Sometimes it's challenging for me, though, because things do come up at work, and I find that I had to work through lunch. And when those things happen, I know that I get really hungry and I'm less apt to eat something healthy, as I mentioned. So one way to get around this is to keep snacks available. I will eat almonds from time to time. They don't have to be refrigerated. They're filling. They're good for you. So you can throw some nuts, a healthy snack into your backpack or into your bag and kind of keep that with you. Speaking of snacks, that's habit number 11, and that's having a healthy afternoon snack as well. I know that if I don't, I'm cranky by dinner. So again, nuts, fruits, cheese stick, things like that. Those are all small snacks that are somewhat healthy that you don't have to, that serve to curb your appetite for later. And they're somewhat filling. You get fiber with the fruits. The nuts are filling as well. So how do I accomplish this? Again, it requires just a little bit of planning. Think about it before you're hungry. Think about it the night before. Put a small portion of a snack aside that you can just throw in your bag the next morning and take with you to work. You know, I find that I make the most unhealthy decisions when I don't have options and when I wait too long to eat. So give yourself options by packing your own snacks and use them to fill the gaps between meals. And then you tackle both of the things, the unhealthy decisions, because now you have options and you don't have to wait so long to eat because you use those snacks to supplement your eating throughout the day. And finally, tip number 12, if I did not meet my fruit and vegetable goal of 5 servings by the end of the day or by the time I eat dinner, then I will be sure to finish off that habit with my dinner. So I try to make my dinner fruit or veggie based if I didn't complete that habit or that goal throughout the day. And this goes back to the small daily goal again. So looking at your goals from a long-term perspective, what we want to do is be able to break those down into smaller, tangible goals. And this is one of the things that I do daily to try to have healthy eating practices consistently over the course of my life. I will make it a daily goal of having 5 servings of fruits and or vegetables. The way I tackle this one is to cook at home when we can, but it starts before that, right? It starts with having healthy items at home to cook, which goes back to how you shop and things at the grocery store. Now, I'll tell you that this one is challenging for me because we do like a very wide variety of food, and we often take the opportunity to try different eateries. We are, as we call ourselves, self-proclaimed foodies. And that typically means leftovers. And I'm not one to waste food, so I find myself eating a lot of leftovers from time to time. But that's why I try to front load the fruit and veggie requirements earlier in the day. Again, though, it goes back to planning. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. You know, as I look back on all of these tips, those 12 simple, healthy habit ideas and bits of advice, I can see that there's a common theme, a common thread that runs through all of them. And it is this: it is getting in the habit of planning and being intentional with what it is that you want from your health and from a health and fitness standpoint. And this applies to so many things in life, right? Being intentional with your actions in every facet, form, and shape. But it's particularly important when it comes to your health because healthy habits tend to get put on the back burner. They tend to get shoved aside for, quote, more important things. So let's start by making your health a priority. You don't have to incorporate all or any of these habits that I've mentioned today for that matter. But whatever your habits are, seek to improve them little by little. That's what lifestyle change is all about. And that is how to live healthy. More importantly, that's how to start the process. So before signing off, I want you to be sure to grab the freebie, which should be available if you are watching or listening to the podcast or the rebroadcast of this. For those of you that are here with me live, I'll get that freebie up ASAP and post it in the comments below. That freebie, again, is a cheat sheet with the 12 simple healthy habit ideas that you can start right now. The link for that freebie is tdfitness.net/010 download. The link to the show notes for this episode is going to be at tdfitness.net/010. And I'll hang all of those referenced links that I mentioned on the show notes page as well. Also, you'll notice new this week, there are links to not just the podcast and on iTunes, but also on Google Play. So we've added the podcast to Google Play, which I'm excited about. All of you Android users can use that. And there's also the option to rewatch the video either on Facebook or YouTube. All of those links are on the show notes page. As always, don't forget to check us out on social media, tdfitness.net/Facebook and tdfitness.net/Twitter. And as always, I certainly thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. All right. You guys have a blessed day. Coach T out.